In this video, we're going to be talking about pronoun suffixes that get attached to verbs. Now, you'll recall many weeks ago, you learned about pronoun suffixes that attach to nouns and prepositions. The chart for that is on page 47 in the textbook, and I will invite you to reflect on the differences between the chart on page 47 and the chart that's presented here in the textbook on page 135. But there are, in a couple of instances, slightly different forms that the suffixes get contracted into from the independent personal pronoun when they attach to different kinds of words. So there's a certain kind of form that the suffixes take when they attach to nouns. There's a slightly different form in a few cases that the suffixes take when they attach to prepositions. And yet again here with verbs, in a couple of cases, there's some alternative forms when suffixes are attached to verbs. You'll recall from that previous conversation we had, or a previous video at least, that when suffixes attach to words, they function in different ways depending on the word they attach to. So, if a suffix attaches to a noun, it has a possessive function. So, beiti is my house, the house of me. Suffixes attached to nouns are always construct chains. House of me. The house of me. They're also definite. If a suffix is attached to a noun, it's a definite construct chain. If a suffix is attached to a preposition, the suffix becomes the object of the preposition. So that which the preposition, the thing that is modified or defined, the relationship between the preposition and its object is defined by the preposition. So, alav would be upon him or upon it, for instance. Or al levavecha, upon your heart. No, that's not a suffix, but it's still a prepositional phrase. When suffixes attach to verbs, they become the direct object of the verb. And as I said, in only a few cases is the form different from the form that attaches to a noun or to a preposition. So pay attention, flip back and forth multiple times between page 47 and page 135 and look at the two charts and identify when the form is different. One of the main instances when the form is different is the first common singular suffix. When it attaches to a noun, it's just the hirik yod. Just the hirik yod is the contracted form of the pronoun ani. When it attaches to a verb, in most instances, it is actually the noon and a hirik yod. Ni, not just e, beiti, but ni. And I have a couple of examples here that we'll get to in a minute. So that's the function of the suffix. The function, the grammatical function within the sentence of the suffix depends on the word that it attaches to. We'll get to this in a second as well, but if a suffix attaches to an infinitive, which is also a verb, but it's a half noun, half verb, when a suffix attaches to an infinitive construct, only an infinitive construct, you'll never have a suffix attached to an infinitive absolute. But attached to an infinitive construct, context will determine whether the suffix is the subject of the action being described by the infinitive or is the object, the recipient of the action described by the verb. Context will determine. Okay, let's jump into some actual forms. So open your textbooks to page 135 and kind of follow along with these forms. I haven't given you examples of all of them, of course. But first we'll start with perfect forms. So if a suffix attaches to a perfect verb, a verb in the perfect aspect, then it will look something like this. In almost every case, the verb itself will stay without modification with respect to the consonants. In some cases, the affix will be slightly affected in that it will contract with the suffix to make a modified form. But in most cases, you'll have the full affix and then the suffix after it. So here's an example, our first example. Shema'aticha. Shema'aticha. So shemati is I heard, right? I heard. The T affix here is telling you first common singular, perfect, and then the cha on the end, you'll know very clearly from the Shema, is you, second masculine singular. Shema'aticha is I heard you, or I listened to you. I heard you. Okay? Now here, our next example. Beracho Adonai. Beracho Adonai. So here you have berach, which is a PL. In most cases, a PL will have a dagesh forte in the middle root letter. But in this case, of course, it can't because resh is a guttural. And so that dagesh forte, to compensate, has compensatory lengthening. So the hirik, which is the typical vowel under the first root letter of the PL lengthens to atzere beracho Adonai. So this one could be confusing because you're not sure who's doing what and who's referring to what. So remember, when a suffix attaches to a verb, the suffix is the direct object. But still, often, Hebrew makes explicit the subject of the verb. So Adonai here, which directly follows the verb, is the subject. The Lord blessed him. The Lord blessed him, or he blessed him. The Lord did. The Lord blessed him. Finally, this is not one of your vocab words, but I couldn't find one with a third masculine plural suffix on one of your vocab words that actually is in the Bible. All these examples come directly from the Bible, by the way, which is not the case for the textbook, unfortunately. But this one, eish. Eish is the word fire. Serafatam. Serafatam. Okay? Serapha, or the root, sin, resh, pe, is the verb saraf, is the word to burn. To burn. Now this example illustrates one of the notes on, I believe it's page 136 in the textbook in which he's talking about the perfect forms, that when you have a third feminine singular form, which the affix for a third feminine singular is kametz he. Kametz he. That's the third feminine singular affix. When you have a suffix that attaches to the end of a third feminine singular form, the he, like it is with the feminine singular noun in the construct, that he will turn into a tav. And the comments will often turn into a patach, although not in every case. And then the suffix will just be added to that. So for instance, this is an example where the vowel beforehand is not shortened to a patach here. Okay, so eish, fire, is a feminine singular noun, and here the noun, the subject actually comes before the verb. So Eish serafatam is fire burned them. Right? So this tav is actually the indicator of the third feminine singular affix. When it has a suffix, that comet's hey turns into a tav. Okay, now saraf is the verb burn, as I said, and that's the root of seraphim, the seraphim, who are the burning ones. Really, seraphim are the burning ones. So Eish serafatam, fire burns them, or burned them.